So I'm going to review Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and I'm really hoping that you're not going to kick me off BookTube. So hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Gemma, and July is lovingly known in the BookTube community as Jane Austen July, where people celebrate the works of the very famous, very well loved author Jane Austen. Now, I have a mixed relationship with Jane Austen, I would say, and this July I read my fourth of her sort of big six novels, Sense and Sensibility. Credit where credit's due, I read this with the lovely Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf and the wonderful Jack from Spread Bookjoy, and we had some really good conversations around this book. And I would say that both Alice and Jack are more tolerant, appreciative of Jane Austen's work than I am. And yeah, I just wanted to come and talk about Sense and Sensibility because, quite frankly, it pissed me off. So let's talk about it. If you're not a fan of rant reviews, this is probably not the video for you. If you're a die-hard Jane Austen fan and don't like a word negatively said about her, again, probs not for you. Also, there will be spoilers in this video for the book, because I feel like I can't get my anger off my chest without discussing the book with spoilers. So let's talk about it. If you are not interested in reading this book and you just want a rough synopsis, this follows the Dashwood sisters, whose father dies and they do not inherit much money from his eldest son. And so they move to Devon with their mother and sort of live their life down there in relative poverty. Not really poverty, not like Charles Dickens poverty. But yeah, they bob down there and they meet some guys. As with all Jane Austen novels, right? And yeah, it started off okay. It started off fine. There were funny moments, like laugh out loud funny moments. Jane Austen is very good at her sort of witty, sarcastic humour, particularly in the way that she portrays some characters. The girl's mother, for instance, was pretty hilarious. However, the trouble really starts when we get towards the end of this novel and things start to tie up. So let me start by talking about Willoughby. So Willoughby is the love interest of the middle sister, Marianne, and they have a bit of a whirlwind romance, and then he just buggers off and we don't know what's happened to him, and then we find out that in fact he is engaged to marry someone else. Not only that, but he has a love child, and yeah, he's just all round a bit of a jerk, right? And one of the scenes that annoyed me the most in this book was when Willoughby comes to the place where Marianne and her elder sister Elinor are staying. Marianne is ill, and so he explains himself to Elinor, except he doesn't really. He goes around in circles saying, yeah, I've done all of these horrible things, but I did quite like Marianne, but not enough to actually marry her because I was already engaged to someone else. Oh, and yeah, the love child, but it's okay because I liked Marianne. And okay, I get that he was a jerk and like he just had no moral compass, but Elinor was actually listening to that drivel and at times felt sorry for him, and I was like, mate, what? No, kick him out on his ass because he's an absolute cretin. So that scene really annoyed me. And then Marianne was one of those characters that she's very naive, quite sort of up herself, but I quite liked her. She had some spunk, she had some fire. She, at the beginning of the book, she knew what she wanted and she was going for it, and I could appreciate that in her character. I really like that. But by the end of it, her character arc was so depressing. She's like, yes, I want all these amazing things and I want love and I want to marry for love. And then she gets her heart trampled on, so she's like, actually, I'll just marry for convenience and money and be mildly unhappy. I mean, I don't know, maybe this was supposed to be a tragedy because that's what it felt like. Moving on to the elder sister, Elinor, who was quite frankly dull as dishwater throughout the novel. She was very goody two-shoes, didn't really have much about her. There was a tiny bit of spice in her in the middle where she wrote a letter to her sister basically saying, mate, I've been going through some shit as well. But apart from that, she was just very, very dull. That said, at the beginning of the book, she has a guy that she quite likes, Edward, who also seems pretty dull, though apparently not as dull as we think, because he also is already engaged to someone else, a secret engagement that has lasted for years. And the book portrays it as it's not really Edward's fault because he didn't do anything sort of scandalous for the time. However, he totally did lead Elinor on, knowing that he was engaged, and that also made him a jerk. I mean, this should have just been called like The Jerks of Devon or something, because it was awful. The men in this book were straight up horrific characters, and Elinor is very upset that he's already engaged, obviously, but she can't tell anyone because the girl that he's engaged to needs to keep it a secret. Oh, anyway, all this drama. Lots of scandal. I did quite like that about this book. But then at the end, plot twist, the girl he was going to marry then goes and marries his brother because he's been disinherited. The brother doesn't get disinherited, which is weird, right? But it just felt super convenient, you know? The man that Elinor wanted to marry from the very beginning, who was then unavailable, suddenly becomes available again. And not only that, but she instantly forgives him, right? She's just like, yeah, that's fine. I know that you led me on knowing that you were engaged and you've been engaged for 4 years, but it's fine. We can get married. I mean, honestly, this whole book flies in the face of any kind of feminism you can imagine. It's just the most unfeminist book I have ever read, and it made me mad. So I do understand that I'm reading this with a modern eye, right? And that I will have different opinions on what is acceptable in both male and female behaviour now compared to the 1800s. However, like everybody says, the definition of a classic is something that is timeless, that is still relevant today. How is that relevant? How is that relevant? How is like squashing your own personality to marry someone else relevant today? How is like marrying for convenience relevant for, oh, it's just not, is it? It's just not. So I understand that these are classics, and I understand that I'm looking at it with a very modern eye, and that Jane Austen absolutely was not a feminist. However, it really angered me. It angered me so much. There is something to be said for a book that can anger you to that level, that it brings out that level of emotion in you, that there is some good writing in there. But man, Sensibility, no. So yeah, if you are interested in seeing my take on Austen versus Hardy, I'm sure that you can guess what my take is, but I will leave that video here, and I will catch you all very soon with another one. Bye guys.